Hello again and welcome to another Mordian Glory video. But is it even a Mordian Glory video, or is it in fact a Simon video? It's time for the SaltCast, baby! And I am joined... It's been a while. It's been a hot minute. You've been gallivanting off on holiday as per usual.
A work trip.
Yes, a work trip, which involves you going skiing probably for the 7th time this year.
No, I was in Crete. You can ski in Greece, but not in, Crete in June.
I mean, you could try.
Water ski maybe, but I mean, yeah. You see that big yellow thing that appears outside, that's the sun, and in the summer it's quite hot, which makes skiing difficult.
Now, normally I would say sun in the UK, don't we talk about, but we had a hot weekend this weekend.
Oh, it was cleggy as
bollocks stuck to the side of leg. That was it. Having to do the walk where you sort of unpeel it as you do the weird leg thing as you walk around. That's what was going on.
Is cleggy well known? Is this going to be a new word to a lot of people? I think
so. I think we're gonna be teaching the Americans some new words today. Yeah, for sure. So Simon, thank you so much once again for coming on and being my salty partner in crime. As always, it is a pleasure to have you here, and we are going to be actually having a bit of a Simon-centric episode, which I think a lot of people are going to be happy about because no one really cares about when I'm here and when I'm talking. So what we're going to do today, dear viewers, is we're going to have a Simon after-action report. You see, Simon and I were at a teams tournament earlier this weekend, which is why we were saying it was very hot. It was quite hot at Element Games, and we're both on the same team. Simon was the team captain, and my own after-action report with the pictures and all that kind of stuff will be coming out next weekend. But I thought we would take an opportunity to actually get Simon's perspective on the team tournament first. So there won't be any spoilers regarding my games, but you guys can kind of have Simon tell you a bit about how his games went, what he was running.
To be spoilers, you've done a 6-hour live cast about your.
I have, that's true. But most people don't watch the 6-hour live stream. They wait until the summary video comes out because, ain't nobody got time for 6-hour live stream. So this will be sort of, we'll talk about Simon's games, what he was running, what was going through his mind, any particular highlights or anything. And just a bit of, some hot takes from Simon on the meta. I know that in one of his games, he had his consciousness expanded by the Thousand Suns, which when...
Oh, remind me to tell you the funny story about that.
Okay, will do. And then, that'll be it. So we'll be chatting some bollocks as per usual, but we'll be letting Simon actually kind of take it away, and I'll just be sort of asking some questions and reacting and all that kind of stuff. And I've actually not had a chance to speak to Simon about this yet. Obviously, when you're at the tournament, it's kind of go. And then after talk, when you're eating a kebab, you're kind of just talking about the kebab more than anything else. So, so this is actually, you will be genuinely getting some sort of live commentary from me, as it were. And I'm kind of curious to see what Simon's got to say. So, first things first, Admiral Simon, I presume you were running an Imperial Agents, Imperialis Navy-themed army, of course, right?
Obviously, yes, that's exactly what it was. Just not.
So, on a serious note, what were you running? Give us a brief overview of your list and some thoughts behind what you put into it.
Well, I finally took my Raven Guard to a competitive tournament after only sort of 5 years since I started it.
That's crazy.
Literally 5 years to. I checked when I bought the Army Paint set off Amazon, and it was in June 2020 in lockdown. So it's literally 5 years almost to the day that I finally got him to be a state where I can take him to a tournament.
That's an army that's been in the slow cooker for a while, just marinating in them juices.
But to be fair, since I started that, I've done my Grey Knights, my Italians, and also Raven Guard Horus Heresy. So it's gone round a little.
Did you use the Raven Guard dice?
I didn't know.
That's okay. They aren't lucky in 40k. They're lucky in 30k. Yeah.
No. I just took my little nebula ones. Quite like those.
So what was in the list? Any firstborn, or was it mostly Primaris?
No. It was all. Well, there was a firstborn. What do you call it in there? Tetmarine, because I refused to buy a new Tetmarine, because why should I? But no, it was a list I played against you virtually. So I played it in Iron Storm, Shrike.
So the Raven Hands. Were they the Iron Ravens or the Raven Hands?
Yeah, I went with the Raven Hands.
Okay.
Yeah. Lieutenant in Phobos armor, lieutenants with combi weapon, Tetmarine. I changed the enhancement out to the target Augury web. 2 units of intercessors, 3 units of assault intercessors, jump pack or JPIs if you're going to get all.
Look at him. He plays one tournament with he's using all the lingo.
Ballistas, 2 lancers, infiltrators, redemptor, scout squad. You may notice there's a lack of suppressors.
Finally giving up on them.
Well, yeah, I got rid of them and added got rid of changed enhancements around. I got another pack of jump pack intercessors in.
Okay.
Was a really good choice. And then 3 baby knights.
That's cool. So, do you say you had a Ballistas and a Redemptor and 2 Lancers and 3 Baby Knights?
Yes.
Ooh, quite an armor-heavy list.
Yeah, you can take the Steel Legion player out of...
Yeah.
Steel Legion, but you can't take it out of the player.
I was going to say, so it wasn't quite a mechanized list, because obviously there weren't like any impulsors or rhinos running around, but there was definitely a skew towards armor, and then essentially a lot of just like infantry just running around doing like... objectives and occasionally jumping on people.
Yeah, all the imagery is OC2 in that list. Apart from the scouts, well, I'll say that the intercessors, assault jump pack intercessors, and the intercessor squads are all obviously OC2. So I quite like that. I actually think, I know Shrike's not the best character in terms of his stat line, but making jump pack intercessors OC2 is tremendous.
That is very useful. I mean, it's one thing that I found consistently is people don't seem to put a lot of stock in trade on objective control, but when you've got it and the other person doesn't, it's like, really helps.
Yeah, and it came in handy in a couple of games actually. So big fan of that. 12-inch movement, OC2. Thank you very much.
Nice.
There's not much in the game that does that.
So would you say it was a little bit of a Gardified Marine list with an essence on focus on having infantry, infantry being able to do a bit of damage, but mostly being there for like screening, grabbing objectives, actions, being fast, because Guard infantry can be quite fast with move and stuff, and then the main damage in your list was coming from the tanks.
The idea was that I've got the three armigers who were basically just yeeting up the table, which so it gives someone a choice that either A, attack the armigers that were coming at you. I mean, they were, when we played it, because we didn't play the new night rules, they were OC8 to go. That's 24 OC coming right at you, or they try and take out the dreadnoughts or the lancers, which kind of worked until I came up against Thousand Suns, but that's a whole different story.
So that is. You go first.
That was the idea, that you've got like a big push coming up, gives you a decision, and then I've just got there's 5 units of OC10 that have got varying speeds that I can trade with, and then you've got sort of a couple of dreadnoughts and lancers for the long range firepower and and one dreadnought going to the midboard. So that was the general idea behind it.
Cool. It is worth noting, I think you touched on it before, but you were using the old Armiger rules because the FAQ came out basically like 2 or 3 days before the tournament was happening. So the TOs were like, we will stick with that. Now, obviously, if you had been playing with the new Armiger rules, your Armigers would have been a little bit less durable. They would have been toughness 9, and they would have had slightly less OC. So I guess before we even get into the games themselves, the big question is as someone who has recently used them, especially under the sort of through the lens of his allies, would you continue to have those in your list, or do you think you'd swap them out?
There would be Canis Rex.
No. So you trade out 3 armigers for Canis Rex?
Yeah, so I mean, if you want to cover it up, I think what I'd do with the list would take the armigers out, put Canis Rex in. That'd save me 40 points. I would not run it as Ironstorm. We talk about one of the games, kind of, but I ran it as Ironstorm because it was easier for to try and keep track of.
Yeah.
Than what do you call it? The one that I can never remember, the generalist one.
Gladius.
Oh, Gladius, that's the one. I'd possibly, I'd take out those, take out the Tech Marines, the one Tech Marine, and that would be, that's going to give me another sort of 125 points, give or take.
What would you do with that?
I'm not altogether sure, to be honest. I've been sort of toying around with what I would do with it. Possibly, the other option would have been to take out I did find that the Lieutenant with the combi weapon didn't really get used that much, because it was my infiltrators kind of sat on the home objective more often than not. So it would maybe be, I really don't know. I keep going round and round in circles with what I would do. Possibly some Hellblasters, just so I thought I missed a little bit of anti-elite in there. I think that was a bit of a struggle.
Was that maybe the occasional lack of, would you say, sort of mid-volume shots?
Yeah. Or maybe some Incursors.
Interesting. Okay.
Or maybe an Invicta tactical war suit, just for shits and giggles. I don't know is the honest answer, but
still
still
in the beat lab. Yeah, still in the beat lab, still figuring out. That's fair enough. But okay, interesting. My early thoughts would be interesting. You'd swap out 3 knights for Canis Rex, because obviously Canis Rex is very, very good, but then there is that element of losing flexibility. Like you can always have like 2 knights down one flank, 1 knight down another flank. Did you ever find you were doing that, or did the armor just basically stick together every game?
Once on the last game, and it probably how we win the games.
What, them sticking together? Or
no, they split up.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, they split up on the last game. But generally, I just ran them as one.
Okay, so from your tactics, essentially swapping out to Canis Rex wouldn't really actually limit you, because you were basically keeping them together anyway, apart from occasionally. Okay, which you could get that if you save those points, as you talked about, you could get something else for the flexibility anyway, and you
could put in a war. I mean, war suit's not exactly meta at the moment, but maybe some Stern Guard vets was another thing I was toying with the idea. But yeah, I could swap something else in to do that role, if you're honest.
Okay, cool. So why don't you give us, before we get into the games, give us I'd say quick sort of couple of minutes on being team captain. I mean, I do have to give you a little bit of shit, because you named our team, was it Seraz ate my hamster, and then didn't bring Necrons, and no one brought Necrons, so the team name meant nothing.
I thought it was quite funny. You will not remember this, but there will be people of an age, i.e. my age, will remember a computer game called Rockstar Ate My Hamster.
Never heard of it.
Right, it was on the Spectrum, and basically you start trying to...
You're on the bloody Spectrum, from what I could tell with this name.
It's a great game. So that's where that name come from. And it just kind of went in as a holding name, and then no one came up with a better name, so it stuck.
That's fair enough.
That's now the official team name.
Just going forward.
Just going forward.
Fair enough. I might change which 40k character ate my hamster in the future. Each time, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So could go with I don't know, a bad and ate my hamster or something like that.
Yeah, I you know what? I'm a sucker for a good obscure reference. That's amazing. Yeah, okay, I'm up for it.
1989. That good game.
1989. I wasn't even alive.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I was but a glint in the milkman's eye at that point.
Yeah, but anyway, it's a good game. If you can find an emulator, it's quite funny. It's a funny game.
So how did you find doing the pairings? Because if the people that don't know, at team tournament, the teams get paired into each other, and then there's essentially like a mini game where Each side has got a card. It's got 4 cards, one for each player. It's 4-man teams, and you sort of place it's almost like Yu-Gi-Oh. You like place one down, then you reveal it, and you place the other down, so like you reveal it. All this kind of stuff. Now, I have tried to do this in the past, but as Simon will happily and mercilessly attest to, I just don't have a brain for this kind of stuff. I don't have the strategic brain. I'm here to play my games and do my stuff, and I know what I'm good into and all that kind of stuff. But that's it. I'm a good team player, but I'm not a good team leader. Like, that's the best way of putting it. Okay, like I'm like Ace from Star Troopers. I'm just here to fight. And then we had 2 other people on our team. Was it Ben and Sam were on our team as well?
Ben and Sam,
Ben and Sam, very good lads. Got a lot of time for them. That was their sort of second tournament, I think it was. Yeah. So they obviously, it would have been somewhat unfair for us to have them as like team captain. So Simon very nobly, victory by default, stepped into the breach. But I also think, Simon, you do have the brain for this kind of stuff. The fact that you even have, you do like flanky sweep and all this kind of stuff. And I just sort of, I live by the musician's code. If it feels good, do it. That's my life code. So, so Simon, take us through what the pairings. Obviously your experience doing it for the first time, but did you sort of get the hang of it by round 5, or?
No, I didn't. But I think now I've gone away and had a think about it, I actually have. I think you need to have people who understand their list inside out, helps, and also know. I mean, I think that's the difference between, we've said this numerous times, it's the top players know your list better than you know your list, and that's what you need to kind of to do that pairings, like like a Zen master. You need to understand that kind of level of detail. But actually, now I've gone away and thought about it, it's like, actually, yes, I some of the stuff, not so much who you're putting down, because my view was, actually, I'm putting someone down here to give them a better matchup. And actually, I think that's the wrong way. And I'll probably, because you put your first card down, and then people put 2 cards down, and you get to pick one. And what I discovered was, and we didn't do this very well, is that actually when they're putting their 2 cards down, they can almost force the matchup. If they really want you to avoid, if there's a matchup they really want to play away from, they can keep that away if you put that card down, if that makes sense. But also if they've got a hard counter, so if say you're running Emperor's Children, and Crom puts Emperor's Children down, and you go, right, I'm going to put Knights down there because Emperor's Children are going to really struggle against Knights. You're basically forcing the Emperor's Children player to pick the other card, so you're almost,
they'll dodge it, but they'll go for it. Okay.
So sometimes, I think we kind of thought putting the card down meant you were going to get more of a matchup that you wanted, and actually it turned out we were actually getting worse matchups like
you were swerving a little bit.
Yeah,
well, they were swerving a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. But then the other thing, you did quite well into some. I mean, poor old Ben was getting, look at the draw he had for the first couple of matchups. Was not ideal, was it? Bless him.
No, I think there was an element of, we weren't quite sure what Ben's list could do. And I think there was an element of, Ben was just at his first tournament, second tournament, so he was kind of just here, just vibing kind of thing. And it wasn't until day 2 when I felt like we got some sort of started really getting it a bit better. I think he knew a bit more about his own list as well at that point as well.
But I think it's important that you kind of, and I'm going to blame you for this because you just were like Lord Luke in the run-up, but actually work out what list.
What's that? Well, I wasn't there.
Well, you just didn't respond to any of the messages till like 2 days before.
I responded when you needed to hear from me. That's it. Okay.
But at that point, it was after list submission.
You knew what I was bringing. You knew that I was on.
No, not having that. You said you were probably going. You did take what you said you were going to take, but you didn't. Anyway, that's beside the point.
Look, I'm old school, Simon. I'm old school. We had a real life conversation.
We did.
I imparted to you in the same physical realm space, the room. I imparted to you, I'm probably going to take this. Assume I'm taking this unless I say anything otherwise. Why would I feel the need to then respond via Messenger? I had already given you my response.
Not a team player at all, are you? Not a team player. Anyway, I definitely think that if
I'll never get a hang of this texting thing. I'll never catch on.
Honestly, tell you, it's a nightmare trying to get hold of you. But anyway, that's beside the point. But actually, I think if you sort of plan your list slightly, and if you are, I think I had an all-comers list. I think we could have really done with more of the stat checklist. Knights would have been nice to have in there, I think, or just something like that, or a horde army, something just. And if you got a stat checklist in there, I think then it helps you force some pairings down the line.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, joking aside, I think one of the issues we kind of had is we all sort of took lists that we personally wanted to take, which is fine. But then when we came to the event, it turned out we'd taken 4 shooting lists on WTC terrain.
Oh, the World Eaters weren't shooting, were they?
They were surprisingly shooty, yeah.
Really?
There's like 3 forge feeds. There's like 3 forge feeds in there or something.
But yeah, so I think that's the thing. But it was nice doing it. I think I'll have to, now I've got the hang of it, and if we had a better handle on actually what our lists are going to do well into, and it would make that kind of job a little bit easier. And I think you could certainly tell that the guys who were good at it, the top players, because I got a matchup, I thought I'm really pleased with that matchup, and then he was really pleased with it, and it turned out he was more
he was more correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah. That's actually generally interesting, because whenever I've done the pairings, I've just it's I don't know what it is. There's some things that my brain just can't it just can't get to grips. Some things I'll pick up instantly. I'll read something once and I'm like, I've got it. And there'll be other things where it's like I can read it 10 times and it just won't go in. It just won't go in. So it's kind of interesting seeing it actually, learning about that from your perspective, because I never would have thought about the whole swerving thing if you hadn't mentioned it.
Well, no, I did, but I didn't until it's only since I've come back, and because don't know if you know that Mark and I got stuck in traffic for 5 hours coming home. So
what?
Yeah.
How?
There was an incident on the motorway, so we were at standstill for 5 hours.
But we go back the same way, don't we?
Yeah, literally. Yeah, I don't know if you were a couple of minutes before us or after us or whatever, but yeah. So yeah, 5 hours. I got in. I could have got to Cornwall quicker than I got back home.
I mean, at least you had some company.
Yeah.
Get on with Mark. Yeah. Got a lot of time for Mark. He came to Adepticon with us last year, didn't he?
Yeah, well, I played my last game against him, so we had a giggle about that. But anyway, yeah, so 5 hours to get back. So plenty of time to percolate on what I could have done better.
Nice. All right, so shall we go into game number 1? Simon, what were you paired into?
Blood Angels.
Is this Blood Angels with the new update or not?
New update.
So they had the new... Yes, they would have done, because the update, the Muton field manual for them came out before the new Knight Index. Okay.
It's only the Knights that we weren't playing.
Yeah. So how did it go? High level summary, thoughts and thunks.
Yeah. So I mean, it was a bit. We only got 3 turns in, and then Mark's my opponent. I played him. Strange enough, I played him the last 2 teams. Ran every time. Last 2 teams. A lovely fella.
It's Marcus. For the viewers, it's Marcus who runs Winehammer. You guys know Winehammer. It's the event I take my scions to every single time. Traditionally, he's a good lad. Yeah. It's the tea and cake TO. He always has tea and cake at his events. Anyway, sorry, Simon. Carry on.
Really nice fella. So it basically ended up, it was a narrow loss, but we made a bit of a mistake in one of the rules, which kind of it was a genuinely honest mistake, which kind of swung the game slightly in his favour with regards to. But
What was the mistake, just for the viewers notice, because then other people can avoid to make the same one?
Hit on the what do you call them? Sanguinary is only in combat and not all the time.
Ah, so the Sanguinary Guard have got is it -1? Is it just -1 to hit? It's not -1 to wound.
Wound in combat.
So Sanguinary Guard have got -1 to hit, -1 to wound in combat, and Marcus played it as they had it all the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which we picked up on, but obviously it was when mine's shooting listed, so that kind of but it was a good game actually. He came flying out towards me. I tried to shoot him off the boards. We got to turn 3, and it was only like a 11-point difference at that point. Yeah, I really like Blood Angels actually after playing that.
They're good. They're really good.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I can't, to be honest, remember that much about that. It was. What's the final score now? I'll tell you.
That's all right.
But yeah, it was basically 3 units of Sanguinary Guard come yeeting it towards me.
Yeah.
It was basically a lot of infantry, a lot of jump pack infantry.
Yes.
And it was kick and rush basically, I would call it.
Pressure list.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Obviously, obviously the rules mistake was a bit of an issue. So I know that Marcus sort of said, let's sort of call it a 10-10 after the mistake was made, which is fair enough. So shout out to Marcus for the sportsmanship there. I think, and I know Marcus, it would have been a totally honest mistake on his part.
Oh yeah, it was. It was absolutely just. There was nothing. It was just a genuine mistake, and we've all done it when running a new list.
Yeah. I mean, I've made my fair share of mistakes, and that have been fairly critical, and had to reach out to people post game and be like, "Yo, I messed this up. Do you want me to tell the TO it would have been a different score?" And most people just say, "I'll just put it down as a draw instead." That's fine. So yeah, that's a fair way of doing it. So I guess my big question is, what did you? Obviously, they're a melee pressure rush list. How did you find going into that? Because obviously you've got some jump back intercessors, but mostly like you said, you're a shooting army. Did you find that they sort of took the mid ground and then you struggled to claw it back, or did you find that it was?
No, it actually sort of validated my list idea, because I'd had the 3 baby knights in the midfield.
Yeah.
And also, so while he was pressuring, I was pressuring as well, because I wasn't just sitting back shooting. I had got stuff I can push up the boards to try and stop that.
Yeah.
So that was that kind of sort of, I really validated what my thinking with the list was, that actually it could potentially work in terms of what I wanted it to do.
The theory craft met the reality, and it held up.
It held up, yeah. Because I was a bit concerned by, and they picked this one. That was the one. This was kind of the one they wanted. So actually being able to stop a pressure list in its tracks almost, and I think if we'd have gone on, I probably would have edged it.
Interesting.
Wouldn't have been, because even with that, by the end of turn 3, I had more on the board than he did. Even with, so
that's quite
I think.
As someone who's played into pressure lists quite a lot, one of the things that, and I always try and impart this wisdom onto newer players, it's going to feel like for the first couple of turns you're just obviously losing the game. But if you can sort of clear out the first wave, clear out the second wave, if you get to turn 3 and it's like, oh, well, actually I've thinned them out quite a lot, you can sort of win the game turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, and you can pull it back in that regard. But obviously you kind of know if you're screwed, if the enemy's still got enough to pin you in sort of going into round 3, you're probably not going to pull it back. Ideally you need 3, 4 and 5 to try and pull it back, not just 4 and 5, but you can do it on turns 4 and 5. So it's interesting to see how that kind of happened with you, where they came barreling in you were losing in the first couple of turns of the game, but then going into 3, 4, 5, you were like, actually feel like I'm going to come out the other side of this.
Yeah. I mean, I still have more on the board. I think I had one of my baby knights left. He hadn't touched my lancers. All 3 units of intercessors were undamaged. Jump pack intercessors. My 2 intercessor squads were dead. The scouts were dead. So, and then because you got the jump pack intercessors, you've got the speed to then spread out. So it might have still been 10-10, but it certainly wasn't. If it had continued, I wasn't, I think it was a 12-8 in the end to Marcus, because he's a good player. So I was on the back foot, but I would have pulled it back. I don't know if I'd have gone on to, get a victory, but I would have certainly pulled it closer, I think.
You think that if it had gone the full 5, gone the full 5 and the Sanguinary Guard rule hadn't been messed up, it probably would have been a 10-10, and maybe you could have eked out an 11-9 or a 12-8 to you, something like that. But it wouldn't have been, no one was getting 20-0'd either way.
No, and my list is designed to be minimum 5, maximum 15.
Yeah,
that's kind of what it's there to do. That it's always going to score points, but it's never going to blow anyone away.
Just a side note for the dear viewers, when we talk about 20-0 and we talk about 12-8, we're referring to WTC scoring system, which is very, very common in team events. Rather than having the usual, you still have the usual 0 to 100 like game points, both sides trying to score so many primaries, so many secondaries, but the WTC points are what is used to work out who won the game, and it's based on points differential. So for example, and you have to be ahead by at least 5 of the 5 in-game victory points in order to win the game. So if both sides get 50 points, for example, that would be what was called a 10-10. Both players would walk away, it would be a draw, and both players would walk away with 10 WTC points. If someone had 50 points and someone else had 55 points, I say Simon had the 55 points, he would have got 11 WTC points, his opponent would have got 9 WTC points, and it would have been a minor victory for Simon. So that's just explaining the WTC, so people don't wonder what the hell we were going on about when we referred to like 20-0 and stuff like that. Okay, so interesting first game. The Raven Hands took on a pressure list, a melee pressure list, one of the premier ones of the meta, and came out not completely butt fucked, which is, I think,
which I was quite pleased with.
Solid win. So, what about game number 2?
Well, this is a really weird thing. I played against both of the other 2 guys who were on our Adepticon team.
Okay.
And they both played Thousand Suns.
Okay, so you had 2 games of Thousand Suns this weekend.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was Chris from Adepticon.
Chris Hatton.
Yeah. Literally, I played everybody who was on our team, or at least so that was a random conversation at the start, and I was just like, right, what have you got that's anti-tank? And he went, well, everything. And I'm like, yeah, no, seriously. So you had two Mutilith Vortex Beasts,
they're good.
And what's called Magnus and some Terminators, and he was like, no, seriously,
everything. Yeah.
And I was just like, no. He said, no, if I catch you on the right,
not like this.
No, he said, if I catch you on the right turn, that unit of 5 Marines will kill a Dreadnought. And I'm like going, no. Which lulled me into a false sense of security.
So he told you, and you didn't believe him.
Well, yes, but I also managed to avoid it. So
okay.
He came out. What was the second mission? I can't remember.
I can find it for you now if you want.
Yeah. But essentially, I managed to get the first turn of shooting.
It was Terraform.
Yes, that's the one. I managed to get the first turn of shooting on him, so I managed to blat Magnus and one of the Mutilith Vortex Beasts before he got to open up on me.
In the same turn?
Yeah.
What? How do you manage that one?
What? So
he's got a blank damage and a reroll, hasn't he? And 2 rerolls or something.
Yeah, D6 plus. The Lancer's doing D6 plus 3 into. Plus, I was had sustained hits and on one of them, and
And they're
also
two
he
shots
took
each, aren't they? The Lancers.
yeah,
Ah.
and he not lethal hits. Sorry, because I buffed one up with the Tech Marine buff. Plus, he took a full armor during the face with all 3 melters. Yeah, so yeah,
Did he just fail his 4-ups?
yeah. No, he only failed 3 on Magnus, but that was enough
God
because I
damn.
don't know. Yeah, well,
God damn, the
D6.
cult of the Vanquisher. Because that's what gladiators. Gladiators are the cousins of the Vanquishers. The cult of the Vanquisher rears its big, beautiful head once again. I love it. That's mad.
Yeah,
That is actually mad.
yeah.
Don't the museliths have like a feel no pain?
Yeah, 5 up, 5 up, 5 up in run, 5 up, feel no pain.
Simon, I don't think my list could take out Magnus and a muselith in one turn.
I did roll lucky, and that kind of yeah.
Did you slip a lancer shot past and just get like the big 9 and go, oh, that's most of the job
Yeah,
done?
I got so he Well, then don't forget I had the anti-fly keyword on. You've got anti-fly on the missile launchers from your Lancers, which is quite handy against Magnus.
And they're like
I've
D3
also
damage,
got,
aren't they?
yeah,
Yeah.
-1. So all right, you're still on a 3 up, but then I've also got the ballistus dreadnought, which is quite handy. And then yeah, so I think I got the Mutilith Vortex Beast in shooting, messed up Magnus, and then picked Magnus up in the charge phase.
Who charged him?
The Armiger.
I'm gonna say it sounds like some of the Mordy bullshit luck rubbed off on you. I have to say, you've been spending too much time around me. You've been soaking in that energy, man. It sounds like it. I have to say, it sounds like it.
But this is why, and I'm going to blame Wayne Trumpet a bit. This is what
Yeah,
I found.
blow away.
My list was because although I've got like a lot of big, chunky, hard hitting units, it's still got 7 infantry squads.
Yeah.
I've still got 2 intercessors, infiltrators, scouts, and 3 jump pack intercessors. That's a lot of infantry for either grabbing objectives, so terraforming, and grabbing objectives. So when he had like these points tied up on the Vortex and Magnus, he didn't then have the units to then compete on the primary, which is where I won it.
And I suppose one thing I've forgotten as well is Oath of Moment is such a massive, because because you're Codex compliant, so you get +1 to wound, which is massive. So it's 4 rerolls and +1 to wound, and you've got an Iron Hands or Raven Hands reroll in there. So that's like a couple of rerolls as and when you need them.
Plus you get it with a Lancer. Plus you get your. So I'm not used to having that many rerolls. Put it that way.
Yeah, well, you're coming from guard, so where we have basically, do you want a Sentinel to give you reroll 1s? Yeah, all right then. Like, yeah, that's about it.
And then so I managed to really blunt his shooting before he got to his big, Do
you think Chris underestimated your firepower slightly?
I think possibly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Very, very possibly because but again, it's not the easiest. It's not the new. It's quite new and it's quite a complicated army to kind of play, isn't it? So I think that kind of doesn't help when you're taking it to the first tournament. So, and I did roll hot, and yeah, there's a lot of slap in that. There's more slap than I thought there was, to be honest.
I have to say, Chris is a good friend, and we were roomies at Adepticon, but I have to say his descent into heresy. I think the further he has strayed from the Emperor's Light, Chris, if you watch this, the further you've strayed. He started off as a fluffy Krieg player, pure Krieg army, all Forge World, all legit, beautifully painted, lovingly converted, all this kind of stuff, the Mars Alpha pattern tanks, and then it all went wrong. He went over to Tau, and then and now he's on bloody Thousand Suns. Chris, you need to come back to the Emperor's Light. You need to come back to the Guard. You need to be the prodigal son. We need to get you back, mate. I think when you do that, the your fortunes will. Fortunes don't favour the bold. Fortunes favour the guard.
But yeah, so that was I did I 13-7 I came away with there.
So even with you taking Magnus and a Mutilith down, I think that really shows that the Thousands still had a lot of play left in them.
Yeah, it lulled me into a false sense of security though, because when he went for his go turn, it picked up 2 of my knights and a couple of squad, but then it wasn't quite
enough
what I'd experienced later.
Yeah. Well, a bit of foreshadowing there for sure. Quick side note: shout out to Chris. He actually is semi-immortalized on this channel because he is I credit him with being the creator of what I call the Hatton protocol, which is something I still use to this day. So me and Chris were in a doubles event at Adepticon, and he was using 1,000 points of my guard, and I was using 1,000 points. We'd gone mech on both sides. He was using mech, I was using mech, and we played the first game we played was into Necrons, and Chris said, "Well, what if we just like chucked 6 chimeras at them and like pressured them?" And I was like, "But that's not how I use chimeras. I'm really conservative." He was like, "Well, why don't we just try this and see if it works?" And it worked, and we did it every single game. We did this like pressure. This Hatton protocol pressure style, and it completely threw people for a loop because they weren't expecting us to be so aggressive with it. And so ever since, I sort of, whenever I go balls to the wall aggressive with my chimeras and bully people with dedicated transports, stuff like that, I call it, I say it's the Hatton protocol engaged. So actually, he is a very good player, and he's semi-immortalized in the channel. So there we go. All right, what about game number 3?
Gladius.
Oh, yes. Okay, take us through it, because there's important comparisons between your list and this, because you were both Marines.
Both Marines, and so when I got the draw, I was quite pleased with the draw. I was like, right, okay, that's why.
I think you picked it, didn't you?
No,
okay.
He picked me.
Oh,
he picked.
That's never a good sign.
Yeah, I got picked quite a bit because I went down pretty much all the time as an attacker. But 3 lots of Deathwing Knights. Oh god.
Dark Angel Gladius. Yeah,
they're painful. And I think playing, because he's a really good player. You know, he knows his stuff. And yeah, it was a good list played by a good player. And I didn't, I got 5 points. I'm quite pleased with. And I look back, I don't think many people got many points off him. That for the weekend. To be fair, so I'm quite pleased with that. But yeah, I went up and bounced, shall we say?
You hit the brick wall of Deathwing Knights. Yeah.
And then it did open. One turn, it opened up my eyes to Gladius, and I was in a situation where he had his Deathwing Knights, and he had one on my side of the wall, and some on the other. But I couldn't. If I'd have got close to him, he'd have fallen back 6 inches with my. So if I'd have approached with my armiger, he'd have fallen back, and then I would have had to charge around the wall, so it would have made the charge too far. So I was just like, right, okay, there's a box of tricks there. And these Deathwing Knights have basically just smashed one armiger to pieces.
They're anti-vehicle with their maces, aren't they?
Yeah, really tough. So they'd absolutely smashed. And I was like, I can't really get them. So I kind of, that's a real. It was on the flank, so I had to sort of rely on getting trying to whittle them down with my dreadnought, which didn't work. So I think between a dreadnought and a shooting of an armiger, I only picked up one. Yeah, it was shocking. And then so he had one on one flank, and then he had two squads on the other. And this is where I did drop a clanger. It was a silly choice. I was holding the objective, and I'd shot 2 lancers, a ballistas, had basically managed to kill 4, plus the two jump back intercessor squads. I've managed to kill 4 of his Deadwing Knights. or whatever they're called, Deathwing
Yeah,
Knights. And I was just like, right, do I charge and finish it off? And to be fair to him, he did warn me. He said, if you do that, I'm just going to heroically intervene with the other squad.
Right.
And I was just like, oh. And then I've got Billy Big Bollocks and charged.
Ah, okay.
So he then killed that squad with the heroic intervention, piled into the other squad, killed them, and then I basically charged with 2 squads. He managed to kill them both, and then consolidated into my Lancer.
Oh, right, that was a big clanger.
Yeah, and not only that, I think it was I would have had I would have stopped him getting primary. I needed it for an objective, and I just got greedy.
You got the blood vision, the blood rage.
Yeah, it was just a mistake. But I mean, that made a bit. It'd have beaten me anyway. It was a good list played by a good player, and those Deathwing Knights are horrendous.
They're really good. They're a phenomenally solid unit, and they always have been. Here's the thing: if you're a Dark Angel player, I can't remember a time in the last. I mean, since 6th edition, I can't remember a time since 6th edition, the last 4 or 5 editions, when Deathwing Knights haven't been a solid pick. Yeah. They're always consistently good. So if you're looking at getting into Dark Angels, you want a unit that always has your back. I would consider the Deathwing Knights. Yeah. Was it your first time playing into Deathwing?
For a while, yeah. And it was the kill one, kill more mission.
Oh, the Purge, yeah.
So I was just like, right. So I was, I was still picking up secondary. I was still playing the missions. I got 5 points. We got to the end of the game, and that was all she wrote. But yeah, really good player, great game, enjoyed it. But yeah, it also made me think that I need to turn my list into Gladius and not Ironstorm, because the box of tricks he had there was
the tools in the toolbox. Yeah. I mean, the great advantage of Space Marines is that you could run your exact same list and just say it was Dark Angels next time. No one really cares that it's Raven Guard. I mean, it just doesn't matter. Like, it's not like Raven Guard have got their own codex or anything. Like, Marines are Marines at the end of the day. I mean, it can get a little bit different if you're running like Black Templars, because obviously they do have a separate codex. But even then, as long as it's clear, I think the great advantage of Marines is that you can just wake up one day and say, I'm going to try out Blood Angels. Which is like, looking back to your first game, Marcus has his Astral Claws, and he's run them as He's run them as Dark Angels, he's run them as Blood Angels, he's run them as whatever. He just paints them up in the same.
I think that's what he was running. Just with some Sanguinary Guard. So yeah, which is quite good. But you kind of do that. Just add a couple of special units in, and away you go.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Good way of doing it.
Yeah, fair enough. So, lesson learned for Simon: Gladius is pretty dope, and he needs some Terminators.
Yeah, I think next, I'm glad I ran it as I did, because it was for the first, taking it to a tournament. It was actually an easier way of playing it for the first time.
So, end of day 1, you were 1-1-1, 1 win, 1 loss, 1 draw.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Much, yeah.
It's a solid 50%. Not rocking the boat. Not looking for a nerf, not looking for a buff, just cruise control activated. So going into day 2, and what did you end up? Big question is, here's the big question, because this is something that we don't talk about too much. Did you have breakfast?
Did I have breakfast?
Did you have breakfast on before day 2?
Yes, because it was included in the hotel I was staying at.
Did you have a good night's sleep?
Yes.
Did you feel refreshed going into day 2?
No.
Why?
Because I've been drinking heavily.
Well, it still proves my point, because I always say you should have breakfast and have a good night's sleep for day 2. Otherwise, you'll throw your last couple of games. But as it was, Simon,
I can't do that. My competitive nature kicks in. So,
what do you mean? Your competitive drinking nature?
No, but like, even if I was feeling like death warmed up, I'd be like, right, no, I'm going to try and do as best as I possibly can.
Yeah. That's fair enough. So you had a bit of hair of the dog, I believe, and then cracked on into game number 4. And who was that
Yeah.
against, and what were they running?
Oh, I can't remember his name now. Oh, it's going to bug me.
Well, what were they
Apologies.
running?
Well, because I'd not, to continue the theme of playing shit in power armor,
Yeah.
it was slightly different. It was custodes, so more power armor, albeit slightly different.
I forgot you faced Custodes. So let's go through this. Game 1 was against
Blood Angels.
Blood Angels. Then you faced Thousand Suns. Then you faced Dark Angels. And now you face Custodes. Did you face anything that didn't have a 2-up or 3-up save?
Nothing.
That is a tough tournament. Sometimes you're just begging, please, can I just face something that's got a 4-up? Please. All right. So roughly what was in the Custodes list? Was it in Lions of the Emperor, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it was the one where they got buffs for fighting away from each other.
Yeah, that's the best one.
Yeah, it was 2 units of sisters, 2 of the big tanks, and a load of bastards. Various degrees of bastardness.
Was there did they have the guys that have the feel no pain once per game?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh yeah. You thought that Death Ring Knights were tough. You hadn't faced Custodian Wardens yet, had you?
No, that was an experience. That was an experience.
So
what was it? So yeah, well,
I just want to say one thing. Custodes are my least favourite faction to play into. Now, I've got nothing against Custodes players. I've got nothing against Custodes. I would happily print myself a quick 2,000 point Custodes army. If someone said, we need you on the team and you need to do this, do it. Like, yeah, that's fine. But I always hate playing into them because it just feels like I roll loads of dice. I feel like they're like, yep, I failed a save here, I failed a save there. I look up from my turn and there's like 2 or 3 dead models, and you're like, I swear I did more damage than that. I swear I did.
I felt like that.
Yeah. So take us through what happened.
So turn 1, it's the one where you've got the 4 objectives. So you split the second one. You don't score for your home objective.
Hidden supplies.
I kind of deployed, so I've got a slightly better recollection of the second 2 games. I deployed with the view that I was going to yeet my Dreadnought, not the Ballistas, the other one, Redemptor, and my 3 Knights into the 2 centre bits. They were just going to go and sit and brawl, and then take the one to my right, so that was the closest one to me on the table. He went first, brought up his tank, popped no, he didn't actually. No, he took a what do you call it, a armature down to 4 wounds.
Didn't quite kill it.
And then he'd gone for the one nearest to me, that I was going at the bottom of the table, and I think he had 15, he had the banner, they were OC3 on this, and I got a mission that I needed to take. I got one to take him off that unit, and I was just like, right, and this is where the jump pack intercessors really came into their own.
Okay.
Because they were 10 OC for a squadron of 5. I had my scouts that I could get onto it from being infiltrated, so basically it just meant I had to kill 1 custode, which was interesting because I only just managed to do it.
Yeah.
But managed to kill 1 custode, so got that, popped his tank that had stuck his nose out, and then we basically just had a big brawl for the centre.
I can feel like Custodes, they brawl a bit better than Marines.
Yes, okay.
No,
not better than sort of, because I had my armatures in there, and then he had the little squad 2 that he dropped into the backfield that tied up one of my lancers. But essentially, I positioned my army that if he went into the centre, he got shot, and so there was no one really control. I mean, I think on our primary score, we scored 5 each. Literally, it was that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was literally that bad. I dropped a clanger with Shrike that kind of cost me a bit because he had two custodes in my backfield that he's deep stroke, tied up the Lancer. And for some reason, I was only rolling 2 attacks in melee per Shrike instead of the 7 that he gets. Yeah, I was just going up. His gun and his claw profile are basically the same, like strength 5 -1, 2 damage.
I'm not accepting that. You've used this mother for like 7, 8 games at this point.
Yeah, but he's always dead by the time he gets into combat. This is the problem.
So basically, you were using his pistol profile.
Yes.
Did it not occur to you that it felt a bit odd that Shrike only had 2 attacks?
Yes, it did. While they're stuck in the traffic jam for 5 hours.
Oh no.
So anyway, yeah, you got to own your mistakes, haven't you?
Yeah, I am going to give you shit for that one every time. You do this every time. Every time we have a battle report, Simon will be like, he'll go on his little app and he'll check his weapon profile, and then he'll be like, oh no, that's not right. It's this one instead. Every single time.
It's always worse for me. It's always
worse for you. That's true. It's always worse for you. That's true.
Well, yeah, I feel bad for it. We was such a lovely fair. We had a really good. We only got to turn 3, and it was I think I was 4 points ahead.
Yeah.
But to be fair, at the end of turn 3, he had 2 squads of sisters of silence, and that was it. So if we'd have gone on, yeah, I
Really?
Yeah.
You made it. I thought you lost this one.
I know 10-0.
10-0, but with a turn 4, turn 5, probably.
Would have rolled because I had.
You need to
die. Oh, they didn't. He had 2 sisters of silence. He had the Inquisitor with he had the female Inquisitor that can never remember her name.
Draxus.
Draxus.
The one with the alien bird.
Yeah, and he had a squad of is it the Wardens to get the 4 up? He had 2 of those left.
2 squads of those left, or 2 models?
No, 2 models.
Had he already popped his 4 up?
Yeah.
I think you would have bummed him.
Yeah, if we'd have gone on it, yeah. Because I had 2 Lancers, I still had my Ballistus, I still had my Redemptor. I think he'd killed all my what do you call it by then?
Knights.
Knights were all dead. Shrike was still alive. Another squad of jump pack intercessors was alive. So I had. Yeah.
I'm very impressed. I've never beaten Custodes. Well, not in a long time have I beaten Custodes. Very, very impressive. I think number one thing I'm taking away from this side is you need a chess clock. Because it feels like a couple of your games you've not got past turn 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not that there's any maliciousness to either side, but we're not saying anyone slow played you or anything like that. That's not the. I don't want anyone getting the wrong message. I find that the beauty of the chess clock is people keep moving quickly because the clock is there to remind them. It's a visible reminder next to the table, like, come on, speed up, kind of thing. Yeah.
But yeah, it was good. It was a really good game. I actually enjoyed it, and I was again quite sort of validated what I wanted my list to do.
Well, I did not want to face the Custodes because I have a traditionally very, very bad round into them, and I didn't. So thank you for taking that for the team and getting a GW win, 10-10 draw, and what would have most likely been a significant win had you managed to go to the full 5 rounds.
Yeah, so it was a good game. That one of them. Yeah, really enjoyed that one.
Interesting. Okay, well, there's only one game left. It was Salt versus Spice. It was Simon versus Mark. Now I got to witness this one. Now, quick shout out to our good mate Mark. We've known him for years at this point. I mean, you guys joined the club.
I met him the first time because when I'd only got back in the hobby for a few months, and you buggered off and made me go to trios with your brother. Do you know? Yeah.
I vaguely remember.
Yeah, you said like, oh, can you? We had a space and it was me.
Oh, I could do day. I could do day 1 of trios.
No, you were on the stag do.
Oh, I couldn't do any day of trios. Okay, fair enough.
So I was drafted in after playing 1 game of 500 points and 1 game of 2,000 points, and I was just like, right, off you pop with your brother and Sam.
Well,
and I met Mark that night.
Clearly, tough love works, Simon. Because look at the play you've come now, the Custodes Slayer. There you are.
I've got a draw.
So we've known Mark for ages. Big shout out to Mark. But I like if Simon is salt, Mark is spice, because he always runs a really good list. He's always runs a good list. He's a competitive player. He's a nice guy, but he brings a good list and he always plays it well. I think when Orcs came out, he fully jumped into the quintessential Mordaka list as an example. When he
was going to say that to teams, but he didn't get it painted in time.
Fair enough. And then he when Ironstorm about a year and a half ago, when Ironstorm was ruling the roost, he was running Ironstorm kind of thing. And
he's had Dark Angels forever. That's his main.
He is, and I think he's not. It's interesting. He's not. I wouldn't describe him as a meta chaser by any description, because he's had Dark Angels as his first army, and then he went over to Thousand Suns. So I always used to give him crap because he's gone from collecting traitors to collecting loyalists. And I think Orcs and then he went to Heresy for a bit, and then Orcs were just a very recent.
Orcs, he's wanted Orcs for ages. To be fair, he's a bit, yeah.
But whether he's running Thousand Suns or he's running his Dark Angels, he always got a lot of respect from him. He always puts together a very focused and very good list. So if Simon is the salty Admiral of the high seas, I would say Mark's nickname has to be the Spice Trader, because he's always got some spice. He's always got some spice in his list. And then I'm just the ADHD riddled goblin.
Keeps disappearing for shits when you're doing pairings.
Oh, that kebab did a number on me, man. I mean, we shouldn't really go into it, but Simon and I had I don't actually think we got what we ordered. I'm just going to say.
No, I don't think we did either.
I don't think we got what we ordered, but we got this very, very dodgy kebab from this place, and it tasted nice, but I could one look at it, I thought, this is I'm gonna pay for this tomorrow. Having kebab and a few beers and everything, and then the next day, I think. I'd had like 2 or 3 shits before lunchtime, man. I didn't ever shit during the game, but it was like I had a shit before game 1, I had a shit after game 2, after game 1, and then going into round 2, I was like, nope, need another one. That kebab was, I swear it was some sort of secret plot to try and sabotage our team. I'm telling you right now, man, it was doing a number on me. Were you all right with it?
I managed to, not need nappies.
Oh, fair enough. I do have Mrs. Mordian always gives me a bit of a stick for this. I have a good immune system. I don't tend to catch any of the things that are going around, but I have a weak stomach. Yeah, ironclad immune system, but weak stomach. That's me. Anyway, enough about my bowel movements. How about round 5 versus the Spice Lord himself, Mark?
So, Magnus, Mutilith, with a 10-man Terminator squad.
10-man?
Yeah. 10-man Rubric.
Okay.
5-man Rubric. 2 of the new robot squads.
Interesting.
And some Chaos Spawn.
Interesting list.
And some choppy goat people.
Right, some Sangors. Interesting. Yeah. So that is a little bit off meta. I've just big mark him as being like a Spice Lord, but that is slightly off meta for him.
Yeah.
But do you?
I don't know. I don't know. I didn't know anything about Thousand Suns before this weekend, but Christ alive.
Well, the traditional but to be fair, it might have changed a little bit with the codex coming out, but the traditional index approach to Thousand Suns is very much what Chris did, which was 2 Mutileth, Magnus, and then lots of little 5-man squads running around.
Yeah.
So how did the game go?
So it was the board we had with the center objective it was the one where you've got the 2 L-shaped ruins, so they're like that, so it's quite open in the middle, and I can't remember what the mission was, but anyway, I
can find out for you whilst you're talking.
And I went first, and I drew. My plan was
It was a linchpin.
Linchpin. That's it. Was I was going to do, because I sort of looked at his list and went, right, he's quite low on the unit count, and the double flanky sweep was born.
The double flanky sweep, not one but two flanks being swept. Okay.
Yeah, I was like that thinking.
The Horns of the Buffalo. Had you watched Zulu the night before?
Well, no, Zulu Dawn. Get it right.
Zulu was.
Zulu Dawn's a Horns of the Buffalo. The Battle of Ishvanvala.
Yeah, but I think the guy in, I might be wrong, but I think the guy in, it's the native guy they have with them in the original Zulu who describes it, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, regardless.
But anyway, yeah.
Within the Zulu franchise, the Horns of the Buffalo, the Horns of the Raven.
So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to do the same thing as I'd done against the Custodes.
Okay.
And I'm going to go and pile into the middle, put my three, put my Dreadnought, the Redemptor, two Armigers in the middle with the fire support from, because the way the board was, I could basically put those in the middle, get my Tech Marine into, say, cover, and then get my two my Ballistas and my two Lancers to be able to sort of cover the approaches, or if with a bit of a move get in there. Mark deployed his two advances, two infiltrating robots, one up and one sort of like that, so to speak. So I put Shrike Squad and the other Armiger on the top, and then the idea was I was going to take him off, just basically spread out to the two bottom and just force a big bum fight in the middle.
So you were trying to like bait it to fight you in the middle, but you actually weren't bothered about holding the middle. You were like, yes, please focus on the mid, get that tunnel vision on the mid, whilst I'm basically using my smaller, more nimble squads to take those flank objectives. And so the end result is you've got a home objective in the middle, but I've got a home objective on two sides.
Yeah, basically the idea. And strange enough, his first mission was attempting target.
You
and I was just like, right, I picked the middle.
You knew he'd get it, but you were like, that'll force him to move into the mid.
Yeah, to be fair, one time that Battle Shock actually could have made a bit of a thing, because when I was doing it on the north, I'd killed one of his robots, taken one down to 2, and that was the only unit he could have put on the northern objective. There's no other one he could have got there. And he drew his card, and then I was just like, we didn't do Battle Shock. I'd sort of picked the middle. He'd gone and done all his move and everything, and then I was like, we didn't do Battle Shock on that robot. Which subsequently failed. So it would have.
Was it a 2-man squad down to a 1-man squad?
Yes, but he was down to 1 wound as well.
I don't think that matters.
Right.
It might have done. It might have done. I might be getting mixed up with Old World, but anyway.
I can't. I thought the wounds count because. But anyway, regardless. So I said come in the middle. And I was expecting to take a slapping. I mean, literally, I had two Armigers, a Redemptor in the middle. I had Lancer, and I had 2 Lancer and Ballistas just out the side. And anyway, so he did come and take the middle. And yeah, so basically his shooting from Magnus Mutalier. I mean, those Terminators are horrendous. They're awful.
The Scarab Colts. Yeah.
My God, yeah.
What do they do to you?
Well, get me $1 and I'll show you.
Fuck's sake.
But the first turn he picked up both Armigers, my Redemptor, took my Ballistas down to 1 wound.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm like,
that's the biggest hit you've taken all weekend in one go.
Yeah, and I'm just like that going. I knew you're going to hit hard, but I wasn't expecting that hard.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I was like, and this is the funny thing. So when we sat in the traffic coming back, and I'm having a look at my watch, and blah, 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 and it said high stress at 1:45 in the afternoon. And I'm like, what happened at 1:45? And then I realised that was when he'd taken his first turn.
That is brilliant. He voodooed you, man. He goddamn voodooed you. He psyched you out.
Well, so it literally just smashed me.
I wonder what your watch says whenever we play.
Oh, it says get help.
It says just kill him. Nobody will know.
So he absolutely just smashed the set, just absolutely, and I was just like, right. I thought then I was in a real uphill battle here. But then second turn managed to pick up what do you call him? Magnus.
Very good. Very well done.
I killed him twice in this weekend, so I was like,
nice.
Just stay dead. I brought the Armiger down from the top and thought, right, maybe the Armiger with its 2 guns in melter range and combat will be able to pick up the Mutalith, which it didn't. And then there was a weird thing that I ended up with this Armiger and the Mutalith basically ended up in combat for like 2 turns with both of them on 4 wounds and couldn't get a wound through on either of them.
Just kept fluffing the dice.
Kept fluffing the dice or spiking the saves. It was ridiculous. And then he came off the objective, sort of rolled up my Lancer, my Ballistus, my other Lancer.
The middle objective, that is. They basically pushed through the middle.
But that sort of took him 2 or 3 turns. And by which case I flanky sweeped right the way around.
So did you base trade?
Yes. Yeah, we base traded.
How interesting. So you ended up on his home objective and the 2 side objectives, and he ended up with the middle objective and your home objective.
But I'd had for pretty much the whole game my home and 2 objectives. And it was funny actually, it was only on turn 4 because my Armiger survived. It was OC8, so I still had the middle objective. So he'd come off expecting the Armiger to die, and it didn't die. So that was a massive 10-point swing because
even if you were OC5, is that still more than the Mutalith? It probably is, isn't it?
It wasn't the Mutalith that was on it. It was a Mutalith was off, but in combat, and there was a sorcery brought up to try and kill me.
So you would have had it either way.
And because I hadn't, but he should have died. So because he didn't die, that also stops him getting an objective.
Yeah.
So it was like a 13-14 point swing on that one.
He took a risk. He took a risk.
Yeah, and then by the end, so we basically just both base traded. I'd made the top one sticky. I had nothing he could get to it. The bottom right one, I had a squad of intercessors just parked up in combat with a rhino. So they were just slapping each other, and but that was my objective. And that was I think it came away with a 70 was
it 13-7 or 16-4? Wow, okay.
No, sorry, 14-6 I think it was.
Okay, cool.
So and we got all the way through that, and but the blanky sweep, and it was because he had, I think it was strange because when I looked at his list, it reminded me a bit of when I was running those 10-man blocks for Grey Knights back at the beginning of the edition, and I was just like, I remember the issue I had with such a few.
People do tend to. It's definitely a trend that I've noticed, almost like a fashion trend with 40k lists at the moment. People are really focused on being as elite as possible. They're really focused on on seeing things through the lens of doing damage, and damage is obviously very important, but personally it's one of the reasons why I've somewhat moved towards when I run hybrid guard, I prefer running mech guard over having blobs of infantry, because the blob of infantry, it's one unit, but for basically a similar cost, especially if you take into account like a command squad, for example, you've got a Chimera which has got 10 men and the Chimera, so that's 2 separate units, that's 2 assets, and I think that just makes a big difference for having another throwaway unit to do an action. and all that kind of stuff. And like, yeah, I think big block MSU is important, but I think it's about having a mixture, because you had like, was it 10-man assault intercessor squad with Shrike? Was it?
Well, everything was 5.
Everything was 5, was it? Interesting.
Yeah. And that normally, historically, I'd be running 10s, but everything was a 5. And I just found having 5 units tucked away behind when he's down, I think he was down to 3 or 4 units at the end of the game. It's just like, well, I can't put you off there without coming off this, and I can't. So yeah, it was a really good game, but that punch back from those Terminators was just like, my God, he got really unlucky on some of his magic rolls.
That's because magic isn't real, Simon.
Yeah, well, apparently so. The thing about the Terminator, he managed to do a super duper cast on my Lancer to get -2 AP, and then the storm bolters on those Scarab Cult Terminators are -2 anyway.
Yeah, so it's like, -4. It's like
-4 damage.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
Same pen as a Vanquish Cannon.
Yeah, and it pissed me off actually, because you look at the cost of those things and compare them to Grey Knights Terminators, and you go, right, I know which one I'd be going for every single day of the week.
Thousands have not had a balanced Minotaur and Field Manual yet, because they missed the last one because they came out too close to it. I think them and Death Guard are going to get some slapping.
Well,
I think
those Terminators are cheaper than Grey Knight Terminators. That makes sense.
Yeah, the Grey Knight ones. Well, we'll see when the Grey Knight Codex comes out, of course, but right now the Grey Knight ones aren't as good.
Yeah, so double flanky sweep was born.
Double flank. He's been working towards this for years, and finally the culmination, all that training in the dojo, all those tournaments leading up to it, all the soul, all the frustration, all of the days having to deal and put up with me and my bullshit, and finally it all led up to that one game, that one moment, and the flanky sweep the doubles flanky sweep was born.
I literally had, to be fair, my Phobos Lieutenant and one squad of intercessors left
at the end of the game.
Very clearly, yeah, he'd absolutely slapped me at that point.
Wood on points though, and it's a great, not to wank you off too much time, but I think it's a great testament to the list that you built, that it could win by damaging people to death. But when that didn't work, it could pivot into, okay, well, I'm going to win on points instead. Because often people will build a list that can only do one thing or the other. And actually, it's the list that can do both, which is good. Just a few observations from my point of view after hearing you go through the games. Firstly, thank you for going through the games. And I hope, obviously, that the viewers enjoyed that and everything. Couple of very quick observations from my perspective. It sounded to me like one of the big improvements that you've made in the Beat Lab whilst you've been cooking up this list has been adding in some significant maneuverability to it. I mean, all those little 5-man squads, MSU, lots of maneuverability, more jump packs, more speed. Every single game that you were going through, it was like, it sounded like, oh, well, when this objective came up, I went and got it. When this thing happened, when I needed to go onto this flank, I got over there. And it sounded like a lot of the lists that you played into, whilst you basically played Power Armor 5 games in a row, it felt like they had smaller, eliter, harder units than you had, but you had more MSU. Sorry, they had larger but more elite units. They had like bricks of 10 and stuff, and you had smaller 5-man squads. So that extra maneuverability, it sounded like, was the damage was nice, but to me, what was coming across was the maneuverability was what was kind of the ace in the hole there, the hidden card up the sleeve.
Yeah, the OC2 drum pack intercessors are really good, really, really good.
Yeah,
it's yeah. I mean, you got 100 points for Shrike, but yeah, it's such a nice counterbalance to all the big heavy stuff that's in that list.
So, big question.
Yeah.
Where do we go from here, Simon? Are you itching to take the Raven Hands out again? Are you thinking, I know we talked a little bit about how you might change the list in the future, but based on those 5 games and reflecting and recollecting, what were your lessons learned and what would you change?
So I'm going to go to Gladius, put Rex in, and then it leaves me. So if I put Rex in, let me tell you what I'll do. Please hold. Quality TV this.
Talk amongst ourselves. So did you see that ludicrous display last night? Arsenal always try and walk it in.
Put Rex in, and then if I take out, I'm going to leave the lieutenant in Phobos because he's, for what he costs, and it's a great little scoring piece for 55 points. That gives me 195 points left to play with.
That's a lot.
So there's still the lieutenant with the combi weapon that didn't really do much because I got the infiltrators on the home objective. So not sure about him. And then I take the Tech Marine. But if I put the combi weapon lieutenant back in, it kind of gives me 125 points to play with.
That's a Hellhound. If you could take a Hellhound.
Well, yeah. So I keep coming back to what do you call it? An Invicta tactical warsuit.
How much is that? 120?
Yeah, 125. Take me straight up to 200. 2000s.
It's interesting because it kind of means that you're dropping. So you're essentially dropping the 3 baby knights for Canis. And then what was the other thing you dropped?
I'll be dropping a Tech Marine for another walker.
So you didn't feel the Tech Marine added enough to your list?
Well, if I go out of Phobos, then he's because the main guns on the thingy are heavy anyway.
Yeah.
So they're going to be hitting on twos if we can get them into a point. I think the problem is if I put the Tech Marine back in.
I'm not saying you should do. I'm just saying, did you think he wasn't adding enough?
I don't think he really did, to be honest.
Fair enough.
And perhaps not in. I think he's a trap in Gladius.
Okay.
Because if I do that, it only leaves me 70 points.
That's not enough. That's not worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I take him out, all I'm thinking of is 125 points. It's another scouting model. I mean, I'm not saying that's the right thing. It's
well, it's a pseudo dreadnought, isn't it? And it kind of fills a similar niche to the Armiger. Basically you drop the impact is the list. You drop 3 Armigers and you end up with Rex and Invicta Warsuit. So that's pretty good. Would you not be? And I would understand if not, because you did seem to get one over on these units. But would you not be tempted by some Terminators or?
No, because I had like 170 points, so I'd have to then take something else out for them. The other one would be perhaps a Stern Guard veteran squad.
Isn't that just basically like a 5-man intercessor squad?
It is, but then it's against the Oath target. They're pretty vicious.
Okay. Would you consider going over to Blood Angels and throwing some Sangard in there?
I lose Shrike.
And you lose your OC2, so that's from what we've learned seemed to be the key.
Yeah, that was kind of the spoon that kept everything going, because the other thing is potentially a Storm Strike, Hammer Strike, Storm Speeder, Hammer Strike.
Can we add? So you only had 3 5-man squads of jump back intercessors. Do you think you could do with more of those? Can you get? Can you get more, or are they not battle line?
They're not battle line.
Is there a equivalent to them, like maybe bikers or something?
Was Vanguard?
Are Vanguard vets still a thing, or are they?
Yeah, still a thing. They're not very good, and you don't get OC2 on them.
No, it's not worth it then.
Yeah, so that's a kind of the bit where I'm struggling with. So for 125 points.
You don't have to change anything. I mean, at the end of the day, if you think the list is pretty balanced and you're just tweaking it in the light of a data slate or Minotaur and field manual change, then don't rewrite the wheel. Don't reinvent the wheel, as it were. Yeah,
so I need to have a look at the what do you call it, the enhancements and stuff that you can get on in Gladius. Well, liked it. The only thing, if I do the London GT, I'm going to take the Steel Legion down.
Okay, you should do London GT. We'll go down together
because I want to see how I fare with that.
And that way, I can't stop you from using the Steel Legion because we'll both have it.
Yeah.
Quick.
Anyway, talking of which, right?
I have one quick question first. One quick question. Guard versus Space Marines. So you've played a lot of Guard. This is your first tournament with Space Marines. Quick 30 seconds. What did you as a Guard player, did you find it enjoyable to Space Marines? Was it a breath of fresh air? Was it kind of similar but with the reskin? Were there any sort of lessons you learned as a Guard that were well applied here, or was it just completely different? Just 30 seconds thoughts on Marines.
Quite similar, because it's like, especially with the because you're throwing up stuff like as in quasi chimeras, they're just their armigers, and then you fire them from the back line, and then using your jump pack intercessors, almost like your squad's getting out of chimeras and moving. So it's a similar idea of how it plays, just with the differences. If that doesn't really help, does it? But yeah, it didn't feel an completely different way of playing as my Steel Legion now.
Okay, so that's interesting. I think that's because it's always when you take a player and put them into a new faction, sometimes it can feel like a natural fit, and sometimes it can feel like, it's good, but I don't like it, kind of thing. And so you would say, not only did you feel that it worked, but it also felt like a relatively natural place for you to go with that list.
This did, but it's not the most, it's not exactly a meta Space Marine list that was running, is it?
Not yet.
Listen, I'm not blowing my trumpet that hard. It was a very solid list, and it did what it was supposed to do. I think it's a decent teams list because it can play into everything and pick up points. I mean, that's and I think it would do reasonably well. So there wasn't a matchup at any point where I looked at it and went, I'm going to get obliterated here. There's nothing I can do about it. There was everything that we were coming up against. So I was just like, right, okay, if I get paired into that, I will give it a go. Yeah,
it sounds like it had some solid fundamentals. It sounded like it had some solid fundamentals, which I think a lot of players, when they're first trying to build a list, they try and build list which is almost like a jank list, or like a meme list, or like a skew list. This is what I used to do, and now you realize that will sort of get you 3 and 2. That'll let you win some games, but you're not actually getting better as a player. And then actually what you do is you go for a list that has a little bit, that isn't just trying to win via skew, but there might be an element of skew to it. Like Mechanized Guard is fundamentally a skew list, but it's not winning because it's a skew. The skew is a tool in the toolbox alongside these other things that you bring in. And I would say one thing with your list, what I noticed, that you didn't have a Death Star unit in there, which I think a lot of people sink hundreds of points of these Death Star units, but it can only be in one place at once. Yeah. So that wraps up the After Action Report, Simon. I want to say I genuinely found that fascinating, and I hope the viewers enjoyed it. Hopefully we could do it again with some more tournaments. Get you back on the tournament scene. You've not been doing it as much as you should have been. What were you going to say regards LGT?
Oh, important question, right? On our last one, we talked about the Mechanized Guard. Who was right?
Yes. I have had some time to sleep on this, and I'm not going to give you the gold medal, but you can have a silver. Okay.
I know.
So, I don't want to give too much away from my own After Action report, but before the event, Simon and I had a bit of a brief conversation regarding my mech list, and should I run it in Hammer or should I run it in Combined Arms, with basically being the exact same list in either one, nearly the exact list. The only change being swap out the Castellan and the 2 artillery teams for 2 Hellhounds, because those Hellhounds would essentially be my pseudo indirect fire, blasting through walls and then flaming stuff. In the end, I ended up going for the Combined Arms list, and after my first game, I went up to Simon and was like, man, I feel like I should have had Hammer would have been very useful. And I did get to the end of each game thinking, man, there was definitely a time that when just going through a wall every single game, going through walls would have been very helpful. And so I will say to Simon right here, right now, he was right. Hammer would have been it would have taken a lot of thinking out of playing on WTC terrain. However, The reason why I'm only giving him the silver medal upon reflection, he was only 90% right, not 100% right, was because there were a couple of games when if I hadn't had lethal hits, I would have lost it. No doubt whatsoever, it would have been a foregone conclusion. I played into Necrons with Catan spam, and I tell you right now, if I had not had lethals, that would have been over before it began. As it was, it ended up being a very, very, very close game, a very interesting game. And also, I played into Tyrannid Monster Mash, and once again, you know, when you're playing into 9 Tyrannid monsters, if you don't have lethal 9 monsters, which some of them have got the blank on them, so the vanquishers are kind of cooked there. If you don't have your lethals, that would have been I think a foot over before it began. So for every game that hammer would have been more useful, there was a game where lethal hits were necessary. So I'm saying both lists were pretty equals to equals.
Fair enough. I was intrigued. Sorry to ruin your next video.
No, not at all. It sets it up. It's a cliffhanger. But Simon, I think we'll call it there if that's all right with you.
Yeah, of course.
Nice. Well, as always, Simon, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule of organising your next skiing trip. And joking aside, Simon is actually genuinely one of the busiest people I know. So big shout out to Simon. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for taking time out. Thank you for genuinely going into that detail. I think it was it's always important to learn. And for once, it was actually a fairly sensible SaltCast. So we'll see if the people enjoyed that.
Make up for that tomorrow then.
Yeah, indeed. We're playing Old World tomorrow. Simon is bringing his High Elves. We're going to record it. It's going to be good times. But hopefully you guys back home enjoyed that. Please let us know what you think down in the comment section below. What did you think of Simon's list? What did you think of the matchups? And anything that you would change or any questions, let us know down in the comment section, and we'll do our best to take a look. And as always, we do try and read the comments and pick things up for the next SaltCast. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe. It's a great way of boosting these videos, great way of supporting the channel, and a great way of helping with the old YouTube algorithm. And we are trying to get to 80,000 subs by the end of the year, and it's going to be very, very close, very touch and go. So if you do manage to get to us to 80,000 subscribers by the end of the year, I might release a toe picture. I know what the people want. Or if you like, we don't want the toe pictures. If you get to 80,000 subs, you can choose for me not to release the toe pictures. There we go. But that's all for now. Thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And of course, as always, we'll see you guys next time. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing, truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full time without the incredible and generous support of my members, so thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Alex Dengal, Bonbon Vert, Lord Pryor, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, Try Again Bragg, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Diesel Fox, and August Barney. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.